Clara had a crush on me for 3 years, and we were together for 4. She was my anchor through some of the most difficult periods of my life, a constant presence I had come to rely on completely. But on the night of our college graduation, a night that should have been a celebration of our shared future, I overheard her conversation with her best friend while she was drowning her sorrows. She spoke about me, about my past, with a casual cruelty that felt like a physical blow. "Mark was touched by some old woman," she'd said, her voice dripping with a mix of pity and disdain. "And don't even get me started on his family of weirdos. It wasn't until I met Daniel that I realized how charming a guy who comes from a good family with money can be. I want to break up, but I'm afraid he'll threaten to kill himself." I didn't want to make the situation more awkward than it already was. I retreated from the doorway, my heart pounding a sick, heavy rhythm against my ribs. I went back to my dorm room in a daze, quietly opened my laptop, changed my resume's target city from Boston to New York, and began the process of completely vanishing from her life. Clara's words had sent my mind into a state of free fall. I blinked, feeling utterly disoriented as a high-pitched ringing echoed in my ears, like a long, wavering line on a heart monitor descending into the flat tone of nothingness. Then, through the haze, I heard the rowdy cheers of people hungry for a piece of gossip. "Wait, Mark was really messed with by an old lady. How old?" someone asked. Clara didn't even bother to look up from her drink. "It was just an attempt," she clarified dismissively. "One of his grandpa's poker buddies, probably in her 60s. It felt like a rusty, dull needle was being slowly pushed into my heart. I stood rooted to the spot outside the door, utterly mortified, a desperate voice in my head screaming for them to just stop talking. But my feet felt as if they were nailed to the floor, forcing me to listen. "Holy shit, Clara, I didn't know you were into that," one of her friends joked with a loud laugh. Another chimed in, "Pass it on, Clara, and some 60. No, wait, she'd be in her 70s by now. Old lady went after the same guy." "Piss off," Clara snapped, tossing a pack of cigarettes at her friend. Her expression darkened considerably. "He was the one being assaulted. It left him with a lot of trauma." She leaned over, pulled a cigarette from the pack on the table, lit it, and exhaled a plume of smoke. "But after all these years, I've completely purified his mind and body." My head spun again, a dizzying sensation as if I'd been struck by muffled thunder. Tears that I couldn't hold back began to stream down my face, hot and silent. I had to lean my shoulder against the cool wall of the hallway to keep myself from collapsing onto the floor. So this was it. This whole time, beneath her loving and protective facade, this is what she had really been thinking of me. Clara's voice continued, oblivious. "The only reason he got over that old hag and his freak show family is because I've spent all these years treating him like a little prince. You guys have no idea. If I tried to break up with him now, he wouldn't be able to handle it. You think I haven't tried? I've been giving him the cold shoulder for a while now, but he's completely clueless. He just thinks I've been busy and tired lately. It's not that he's a bad guy, but compared to someone like Daniel who comes from money and a good family, he's as plain and simple as a glass of water. Ugh, I wish I'd never gotten involved with him in the first place." The tears streamed down my face without stopping. My cheeks were burning with shame, but a deep, penetrating cold seeped into my bones. I suddenly remembered the day I had agreed to be with her. I had laid everything bare, telling her about my complicated family situation. She had stroked my hair, her face a mask of sincerity as she said, "Mark, no one else in this world loves you, but I'm here. I will always, always love you." Later, when we first tried to be intimate, I kept shying away, gripped by a deep-seated fear. Seeing her disappointment and insecurity, I found the courage to tell her the rest of the story, the part about the old woman. She had held me and cried, her heart seeming to break for me. and she promised she would protect me for the rest of my life. I just didn't get it. Was all of this some elaborate, cruel attempt to force me to leave her so she wouldn't have to be the one to break her promise? But really, all she had to do was say something. Just one word would have been enough. That night, the rain came down in relentless sheets. I opened the umbrella I had originally bought for her and slowly walked out into the downpour. It was 2 a.m. when the sound of the front door unlocking startled me from a nightmare. A wave of noise spilled in from the doorway. It was Clara and a few of her friends, apparently planning to crash at our place for the night. My first instinct was to hide in the bedroom, but it was already too late. "Hey, Mark," one of them called out with a grin. "You can just sleep on the couch. Us girls will squeeze into the bedroom so we don't have to sleep on the floor." Before I could react, she nudged Clara's shoulder. "That's cool, right, Clara?" Clara didn't object. Another girl walked straight into the bedroom, and the rest followed her like a flock of birds. I glanced at Clara's back, but I didn't say anything. This must be part of her cold shoulder treatment she'd mentioned. Then again, it was her apartment. The bedroom door slammed shut. I didn't turn off the lights. I just curled up on the couch with a blanket, staring blankly into the empty space of the living room. The walls were thin, and their voices carried clearly from the bedroom into the quiet. "He's so in love, Clara. If you don't come home, he won't even shower or sleep. He just sits on the couch and waits for you." Clara's impatient voice cut through the chatter. "I'm exhausted. Go take a shower." "Hey, Clara, he's lived here for 4 years. Has he ever paid you rent?" Clara was silent for a moment before replying. "He pays for the utilities, and I live here too, so whatever." Someone laughed. "Doesn't Clara sound like a total sucker? Letting him live here for free for years, and now she has to worry about his feelings to break up with him. I'm telling you, that guy has zero self-awareness." I curled up tighter on the couch, my vision blurring at the edges. Clara's annoyed voice came again. All right, that's enough about him. I look like crap whenever I pull an all-nighter. Oh, I almost forgot. Tomorrow is Daniel's birthday. Our girl needs her beauty sleep so she can look her best for her dream guy." It felt like a knife dipped in salt was being stabbed into my heart, over and over again. I opened my mouth, trying to breathe slowly and evenly, and leaned my head back against the couch cushions, trying to force the tears back. But they just flowed faster. I thought about how cold she'd been lately. I had foolishly thought it was because she was having a tough time with her job search. It turns out it was because of me. Ugh, why can't this Mark guy take a hint? Why is he so delusional, thinking we have a future together? Why does he have no self-awareness? That's why she'd glare at me if I dropped a bowl. That's why she'd blame me for misplacing her clothes. She could barely get through a few sentences with me each day before getting annoyed. The more I thought about it, the colder I felt. I calmly accepted the truth. Wiping away my tears, I picked up my phone. I started calculating the balances in my bank accounts. For all 4 years of college, I had worked part-time jobs whenever I could, trying to save up for our future. Right now, I was incredibly grateful that I had enough saved to make a clean break from Clara. I had a total of $9,800. I decided I'd transfer $9,000 to Clara for rent, which would leave me with $800. I rubbed my swollen, aching eyes and zoned out for a moment. Finally, I opened a travel app, chose New York City, and bought a train ticket for the following evening. That would solve the problem of where to sleep tomorrow night. The living room light stayed on all night. My head was throbbing, but I couldn't sleep. I spent the entire night meticulously planning my move to New York. The next morning, at 9 o'clock, everyone in the bedroom was finally awake, so I could go in and grab a change of clothes. When I came out of the bathroom, they were all sitting at the dining table, eating a takeout breakfast that had just arrived. The sound of the door opening made a few of them look over. One of them said with a lazy, surprised tone, "Mark, I forgot to order breakfast for you. You'll have to get your own, okay?" Clara sat with her back to me, sipping soy milk and smiling at her phone, typing a reply with one hand. "I can get my own," I said faintly. My voice was incredibly hoarse. I hadn't been feeling well last night, and not sleeping had probably made it worse. Worried it would affect my interviews, I went back to the bedroom and ordered some fever medicine online. A little while later, they finished breakfast and came into the bedroom in a boisterous group to change. Clara had a lot of clothes, and they often borrowed them. I closed my laptop and went out to the living room. The bedroom door slammed shut the moment I stepped out. I heard Clara's happy voice. "How does this look, with these earrings?" "No way, that shirt's too flashy. Are you trying to scream to your dream guy that you're a peacock showing off its feathers?" "You have to play it cool in the talking stage. Sarah's right. The key is to look effortlessly beautiful." About 20 minutes later, they opened the bedroom door, ready to leave. Just then, the doorbell rang. My medicine had arrived. The delivery person was a young woman. When she handed me the bag, she added kindly, "Sir, you look really pale. Are you sure just fever medicine is enough?" I took the bag from her and managed a small smile. "I'll be fine, thank you." Clara and her friends were still standing there, not having left yet. The girl glanced at Clara, who was frowning at me, and said, "Ma'am, is this your boyfriend? If you have time, you should probably take him to a hospital." With that, she gave me a small smile and left. The air in the room suddenly turned thick and strange. Clara looked at me with an unreadable expression. Another friend scoffed. "Wow, that delivery girl was so thoughtful, telling our Clara to take you to the hospital." The implication was clear. She thought I'd conspired with the delivery girl to say that in front of Clara. I didn't say anything and moved to close the door. Clara put her hand on the doorframe, her voice laced with a faint chill. "Well, since she said it, I'll take you to the hospital. Go get ready." "I don't need to," I said flatly. The others immediately started chiming in. "Clara, we booked this celebrity stylist a month in advance. He's impossible to get. We only have him for 5 hours. If we miss it, we're screwed." "He said he's fine himself. Let's go, Clara." Clara looked at me with a hint of helplessness, then let her hand fall from the door. "If you say so, then fine. But if the medicine doesn't work, call me." I said nothing and just closed the door. After taking the medicine, I went back to my computer to look for jobs and apartments. I started packing in the afternoon. In the end, all my belongings fit into a 24-inch suitcase and 2 large tote bags. After throwing out everything I couldn't take, I couldn't fight the exhaustion anymore and slept for 2 hours. That evening, one of Clara's friends suddenly called and asked me to bring a change of clothes for Clara to a party. I looked around the newly empty apartment. Not wanting any more drama before I left, I just asked for the address. When I got there, a crowd was screaming and cheering around the villa's pool. Daniel, wearing swim trunks, was holding Clara, who was in a bikini, and they were locked in a passionate kiss. Even though I was mentally prepared for her liking someone else, seeing it with my own eyes still stunned me. It felt like an invisible hand was squeezing my lungs, making it hard to breathe. A shadow fell beside me. It was Sarah, the one who had called me. She had a look on her face like she was enjoying the show. Don't get the wrong idea. They lost at Truth or Dare. It's just a punishment. They just have to kiss for 3 minutes. Just as she finished speaking, the 3-minute timer went off, and the crowd erupted in excited cheers. Clara was blushing and flustered, letting Daniel hold her. Daniel's ears were red, but he was smiling as he looked down at the woman in his arms, his eyes so full of tenderness it was like he was wrapping her in it. Then they saw me. Clara's face froze, her body tensing up instantly. She stared for a few seconds before saying dryly, "Mark, it's Daniel's birthday today. We were just playing a game." I looked at her without saying a word. I suddenly understood Clara a little better. Because when I used to love her so much, I never could have imagined that one day I would find her disgusting. But she had been good to me in the past. I couldn't hate her, but the love was gone. So I didn't make a scene. I put down the bag of clothes and prepared to leave. Seeing me put the bag down, Clara seemed to relax a bit, her tone softening. "Aren't you still sick? You could have just sent the clothes with a courier. You should go home and rest." Because the bus only costs a few dollars. Just as I turned to leave, the housekeeper from Daniel's villa ran over. "Sir, the computer with the videos on it suddenly got a virus, and the repair guy is trying to charge $5,000. I stopped in my tracks, my expression changing. I looked over at Daniel. "Mr. Hunt, I can fix it. I'll only charge $2,000. As soon as the words left my mouth, Clara got anxious. "Mark, can you not cause trouble right now?" Her reaction. Did she think I was staying to spy on her? To ruin her date with her dream guy? I gave her a scornful look, still holding out a sliver of hope that Daniel would refuse me himself. To my surprise, he didn't listen to Clara. The housekeeper led me into the villa. Behind me, I heard Clara's voice as if talking to herself. "Fine, but you don't have to pay him. We're all classmates and it's your birthday. It's just a small favor." It took me 10 minutes to fix it. During that time, Clara came to find me twice. "You should leave now. I'll cover for you. That way you won't have to face the embarrassment if you can't fix it later." I didn't even look at her. If I can't fix it, I can't fix it. Why would I be embarrassed? She was taken aback, but probably figured I was just jealous of her and Daniel, and was deliberately talking back to her, so she bit her tongue. "There's really nothing going on between me and Daniel. You staying here on purpose is just going to make people talk and make him uncomfortable." I said, "Why would people talk about you? I'm helping him fix something. Why would he be unhappy?" She gave me a look like I was being completely unreasonable, and walked away. The virus wasn't difficult. After I fixed it, Daniel, being a man of his word, was about to transfer me the money. Clara stopped him. "I already told him he doesn't need to pay. It was just a small virus, nothing for him." Daniel paused his payment and looked over at me, raising an eyebrow slightly. I opened my phone and pulled up my payment QR code. "You can just scan me directly." Before I finished, Clara's face fell completely. She snatched my phone and yelled, "I said you're helping for free! Mark, are you obsessed with money or something? We're all classmates, and it's Daniel's birthday. Can't you be a little more generous?" I looked at her calmly and said 4 words. "What's it to you?" Then I looked at Daniel and recited my payment app username. Clara stood there stunned, completely shocked that I would talk to her like that. After all, I had always been so considerate of her feelings. On most things we disagreed on. As long as it wasn't a matter of principle, I would always give in to her. After Daniel transferred me the money, he turned to her. "Clara, I said I'd pay for the repair. Oh, come on, it's my birthday. I don't want to fight over something so small." His words gave Clara an out. She coldly shoved my phone back into my hand. I suppressed my anger, checked that the money had arrived, and my mood instantly improved. Before I left, I looked up at her one last time. Clara stared back at me, her eyes cold. This was good, I thought. The more heartless she was, the easier it would be for me to move on. But in the end, she still followed me. "Mark!" Behind me, Clara, wrapped in a bathrobe, caught up to me in a few steps. "I'll walk you out." For a moment, a strange feeling washed over me, probably because I knew we would never see each other again. But before I could dwell on it, she said, "I think you should give that $2,000 back to Daniel." My breath caught. She continued, her tone earnest. "I know you think it's a fair transaction, But you can't be like that. You need to be more generous. People will look down on you if you just take money whenever it's offered. Besides, we're all classmates, and a lot of them know you're my boyfriend. What you did was really embarrassing for me." She paused, then added, "You've lived in my apartment for years, and I've never charged you a cent of rent. Just do it for me, give the money back." Before she could finish, I couldn't take it anymore and shoved her hand away. "Clara, get the hell away from me!" She stumbled back, stunned, and just stood there for a long moment, completely blank. I said, enunciating every word, "We're breaking up!" "Mark!" She hissed my name, her eyes blazing with fury. "You pushed me. I ask you to give back some money, and you push me and break up with me? Fine, you're a real piece of work, aren't you? A few $1,000s? Is that all it takes to set you off like this? Oh, I get it. You grew up poor, so you've never seen that much money before, right?" She was furious now, lashing out with cruel words. "Or is it because you see Daniel has more money, more class, more poise than you, and you're so insecure you can't control your pathetic, jealous impulses? Is that why you have no manners?" I looked at the pure malice in her eyes, furious and hurt. My mind went blank. I didn't want to cry, but tears started streaming down my face. It only made me look more pathetic. She sneered. "Crying? Did I hit a nerve? If you're going to act like a cheapskate, don't be surprised when people call you out on it." I was so angry I raised my hand to push her away, but she caught my wrist and threw it aside, her face like ice. "Mark, either you give the money back to Daniel or you get the hell out of my apartment tonight." With that, she shot me a cold glare and stormed back toward the party. "I must be a real idiot," she muttered, "trying to talk to you nicely, worrying that you were sick. You're just an ungrateful bastard." On the bus ride back, the tears just wouldn't stop. I really didn't want to cry. When I got back to Clara's apartment, I didn't rest for a second. I grabbed my luggage and left immediately. At the train station, while waiting for my departure, I blocked and deleted Clara from all my social media. The last one was my payment app. I sent her a transfer for $9,000 with the note, "Rent," and then blocked her there too. 2 hours later, I was on the train. A text message came from an unknown number. "Mark, are you insane? Why did you block me? When did I ever say I wanted rent from you? I was just angry when I told you to move out. Can you not take things so seriously?" A call came right after. I hung up and blocked the number. After a few more calls from different unknown numbers, which I blocked one by one, Clara finally stopped trying. I went to the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face, then made a cup of instant noodles. After eating, I tried to get some sleep. I had an interview scheduled for when I arrived in New York tomorrow, and I also had to look for an apartment. I needed to be rested. Clara used several of her friends' phones to send messages and call Mark. He didn't reply to a single one, didn't answer a single call. He just hung up and blocked every number. She was furious. Okay, maybe she'd gone a little too far tonight, but she was angry. And besides, he had pushed her first. And Daniel was her friend. How could Mark, as her boyfriend, be so petty as to take $2,000 at his birthday party? What would Daniel think of her now? Her friends chimed in, telling her this was the perfect opportunity to give him the cold shoulder. The more she thought about it, the angrier she got, and eventually she stopped trying to call him. She had been thinking about breaking up with Mark, especially after meeting Daniel. But honestly, she was fine with just keeping things as they were. She even thought that one day, when she got over Daniel, she could just go back to being with Mark. If Mark couldn't handle a little light neglect and decided to leave her, she would just assume he never really loved her that much anyway. She wouldn't feel bad about it, not even a little bit. So, with a clear conscience, she quickly went back to Daniel's side, pushing away the other women vying for his attention and focusing on making him happy. The pool party lasted until 4 or 5 in the morning before it finally wound down. Clara and her friends took a cab back to her place. She didn't want to face Mark alone. When she opened the front door and turned on the living room light, something felt off. But she was too tired and drunk to figure out what it was. Then she saw the open bedroom door. She walked over, and the light from the living room cast a dim glow, just enough for her to see that the bed was empty. Then she turned on the light. In an instant, she realized what had felt so wrong. The living room was missing a lot of things, and the bedroom felt twice as big, almost completely empty. All of Mark's things were gone. Everything from the little succulents he kept to all the clothes in his closet had vanished without a trace. Her mind went numb for a second, then snapped into sharp focus. Mark was gone. She couldn't quite name the feeling. Sadness, disappointment, panic. It was a bit of all of them, but nothing overwhelming. Half of her brain was in a fog, while the other half was thinking, Mark's gone. Okay, so what? Did anyone expect her to break down in tears, consumed by regret, wanting to slap herself? Sorry, but she wasn't feeling it. She just started wondering again if maybe the things she'd said that night had been really hurtful. He must have been pretty determined to leave like that. His parents had both remarried and treated him like a burden. His grandparents were even worse. The whole village knew about the time his grandpa's poker buddy had tried to force herself on him. Some people still thought something had actually happened. So really, besides her and her home, who did he have? Where could he even go? As she thought about it, her brow furrowed. He was being so irrational. Just a few harsh words and he gets all fragile and moves out in the middle of the night. Who did he think he was, making things difficult for? Her friends told her to just go to sleep. It was the middle of the night. Finding him was impossible. That guy was probably just craving attention, trying to make a scene. She thought that made a lot of sense. Mark was very insecure. What he saw tonight must have really scared him. She was exhausted. She took a quick shower and fell asleep as soon as her head hit the pillow. The next afternoon, the four of them woke up, and Clara ordered some takeout for them to eat. They discussed what to do about Mark. Clara kept zoning out. After they ate, her friends helped her ask around to see if anyone had heard from Mark. Meanwhile, she called a guy from school who Mark used to be pretty close with. He must have had someone pick him up if he moved out in the middle of the night. But strangely, no one said Mark had contacted them. Clara suspected someone was lying. Her friends came back with the same news. Nothing. She started to get annoyed, feeling like Mark was just trying to cause trouble for her. So she gave up and started playing video games with her friends. By the time it got dark, her friends had all gone home, leaving her alone in the apartment. She thought of Mark again and checked her phone to see if anyone had sent her a message about his whereabouts. Instead, she saw a message from Daniel. It was a selfie of him at dinner. In the photo, he was wearing a nude-colored silk shirt, his hair slightly wavy, and he was smiling happily. Her mood instantly lifted. She got up from the couch and typed back, "Where are you? I want to see you." After getting the address, she quickly changed, put on some makeup, and grabbed her car keys. Over the next few days, Clara half-heartedly tried to get news about Mark, occasionally using a new number to text or call him. He never replied, never answered, and always blocked the number. Her patience was running thin. At the same time, her relationship with Daniel was progressing rapidly. Daniel knew Mark was missing, and maybe because she'd been a little distant while looking for Mark, he seemed to be getting more and more affectionate. A week after Mark left, Daniel came over to her place. She cooked him dinner, and after a few drinks, one thing led to another. The next morning, she made their relationship official on social media. To be loyal to her new man, she pushed all thoughts of Mark to the back of her mind. She decided to cut all ties. After all, he had been the one to leave so decisively, right? Letting go. It was for his own good and for hers. She threw herself completely into her relationship with Daniel. Just like when she had pursued Mark, she showered Daniel with intense, urgent affection, trying to win his heart as quickly as possible. She loved the feeling of being needed and cared for by a partner. But after a month, she felt a nagging sense of unease. Daniel wasn't what she had imagined. He was always charming and polite to everyone. She used to admire his sophisticated mannerisms, but as she got to know him better, she realized that behind it all was a cold, rational mind. For example, in a moment of passion, she would whisper sweet nothings to him, but his response was always a kind of shallow affection that didn't feel genuine, as if he didn't believe her promises. It was different from when Mark used to resist her advances. Mark's resistance came from his insecurity, from not wanting to drag her down. She could feel that, which only made her try harder, confident that one day he would give in completely. But Daniel wasn't like that. He had a strong sense of self-worth. As a young man who had been showered with love and attention his whole life, her easy displays of affection meant nothing to him. The more she tried to get close to Daniel's heart, the more it seemed he could see right through her. But he never called her out on it. During their intimate moments, he was completely engrossed, which made her feel insecure and wonder if she was just overthinking things. Heart-to-hearts? Talking about the future? That never happened. Several times she tried to bring it up, but he would either say he was too tired and wanted to sleep or just cuddle up to her and let her talk without ever offering an opinion. Sometimes she couldn't help but wonder if Daniel was only with her for her body. As these dark thoughts piled up, she found herself less and less attracted to Daniel. She stopped saying sweet things, stopped trying to get close to him, and just started treating the relationship like she thought he did. Purely physical, purely for fun. She started thinking about Mark more and more. She realized what a simple, kind man Mark was. When they had first gotten together, she would whisper sweet things to him, and he would trust her completely, leaning into her embrace and echoing her words. They wouldn't even be doing anything, but their hearts would feel like they were melting together. For small holidays, if she bought him a watch, he would be as happy as a child, his eyes filled with love for her. Mark would never take it for granted that the woman should pay more when they went out to eat or spent money. Mark's social circle was also very clean. He spent most of his time working part-time. He was handsome, but he always firmly and decisively rejected any advances from other girls. And Daniel? She felt like she was just one small part of his vast social world. Her knowledge of him was superficial, and he didn't seem to want her to know him any deeper. The longer they were together, the more she realized how good Mark was, how much he loved her. And what had she done? She had lost him. She had been deliberately cold to him because of Daniel, betraying a true heart. She missed Mark more and more. She missed the sweet times they had together. And she thought about the awful things she'd said the night he left, and the image of Mark seeing her kiss Daniel. The more she thought, the more she felt she had wronged him. Mark must have been heartbroken when he left, so disappointed in her. In their second month together, she and Daniel had a small fight and casually broke up. Clara spent the whole day drinking. But not because of Daniel. She missed Mark so much. The one-bedroom apartment wasn't big, but it felt strangely empty and quiet. Mark had been ruthless. She hadn't realized it at the time, but now she saw that he had erased every single trace of himself from the apartment. The matching mugs he'd bought, the photo of them on the wall, the little green plants he'd carefully tended on the balcony for years, the picture frames, the blankets. Anything he had bought was gone. She had nothing left to remember him by. Oh, wait, she did. He had left behind every single gift she had ever given him, the expensive ones, the cheap ones. He hadn't taken a single thing, and that just made it all the clearer how decisively he had left. Clara felt drained, a thick cloud of negativity enveloping her. After a few days of drunken misery, a thought gradually became clear in her hazy mind. The more decisively Mark had acted, the more it meant he cared about what happened that night. And the more he cared, didn't that just prove how much he loved her? Mark loved her so much, and he was so simple. All she had to do was put in a little effort to win him back, and he would surely forgive her. Clara slowly pulled herself together and cleaned up her messy apartment. She wanted it to look nice for when Mark came back, so he wouldn't worry that she hadn't been doing well. He was a bit of a crybaby. He used to cry for her all the time. She wouldn't make him cry anymore. She would cherish him for the rest of her life. Clara started looking for Mark again, this time with a single-minded determination. She not only went to the homes of his father and mother, but also to his grandparents' house. No news of him. She asked all of his close friends from school again. When she didn't believe them, she even had the audacity to visit their homes. Still no news. She was starting to break down, but she kept going, asking his professors and classmates, even students from the next class over. She even went to all the places he used to work part-time. Nothing, and still nothing. To make matters worse, after 2 months of no contact, it seemed Mark had canceled his old phone number. Now she had no way to even try to apologize. A huge wave of panic washed over her. Everything was telling her the same thing. The man who just 2 months ago had depended on her completely, had loved her, and had said he wanted to be with her forever was now completely gone from her life. 4 years later, Clara had been looking for Mark on and off for 4 years. It started as a frantic search and eventually settled into a reluctant acceptance of reality. Though she was always on the lookout for any news of him, she had dated several other guys over those 4 years. They all had something about them that reminded her of Mark. She was actually a little resentful of Mark for leaving so cleanly, without giving her a second chance. So she tried to forget him, to start her own life. But the boyfriends she dated were either too wild and unpredictable, unlike Mark's calm demeanor, or they were arrogant about their good looks, unlike Mark, who was handsome but didn't know it. Or they were from similar backgrounds and had a line of backup girls waiting for them, unlike Mark, who was pure-hearted and devoted. She started thinking about Mark again. Every time she fought and broke up with one of those guys, she would miss Mark a little more. Mark wouldn't have done that. Mark would have been genuinely happy. If it were Mark, she couldn't forget him, so she decided to stop trying. She had to find him. For years she had traveled for work, using her connections to ask around about Mark's whereabouts. She never expected that when she finally found him, it would be on a street in New York City. Across the road, Clara stared dumbfounded at the somewhat familiar figure across the street. He was holding a cup of coffee and pushing open a glass door, heading toward a nearby office building. He was wearing a well-tailored casual suit with white sneakers. His hair was cut short, looking clean and sharp. His face was impassive, but his features were handsome, projecting a calm, reserved sort of charm. Clara stood frozen on the spot. Everything around her seemed to melt away, to collapse. The noise of the city faded in and out in her ears, sometimes distant, sometimes close. There was only Mark. Nothing but Mark. Everything else ceased to exist. I had just reached the entrance of the building when I heard a voice behind me that was somehow familiar, yet I couldn't place it. Mark! I turned around, confused. It was Clara. I never thought we'd see each other again. I was a little surprised, but right now I was more worried about the bugs I still had to fix. I managed a polite smile. Long time no see. What a coincidence. She just stared at me blankly and nodded. Yeah, a coincidence. I wasn't sure if I was imagining it, but her eyes seemed to be turning red. I was afraid of getting stuck in a long conversation, so I said, I have to get back to work. I'll see you around." "Mark," she called out, her voice trembling, stopping me in my tracks. This time I saw it clearly. Her eyes were definitely red. Now that she was closer, I could even see her eyelashes trembling. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for what I did back then. I've been looking for you all these years." Tears started to roll down her cheeks. "Mark, I've missed you so much." She began to frantically recount the events of the night I left. There were details I had completely forgotten, but she repeated the words she had said verbatim, then proceeded to analyze them on the spot. She explained which actions had hurt me, to what extent, and how. To make me understand the severity of the damage, she even brought up examples of our happy times together to contrast with the pain she had caused me that night. And there she was, standing in the middle of a busy office building entrance, crying her eyes out, looking like she was about to fall to her knees and beg for forgiveness. I silently covered half my face with my hand. I wanted to leave, but she was gripping my arm. I wanted to say something, but I couldn't get a word in. I nervously took several sips of my coffee. Once her emotions started to settle, I was about to tell her I had moved on, and that she should too, but she cut me off again. "Mark." She grabbed my shoulders, her eyes fixed on mine, full of determination and sincerity. "What happened back then was all my fault. I promise I'll treat you right from now on. I'll spend the rest of my life making it up to you." My eyes widened. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. If you already wronged me, why not just keep wronging me to the end? "No thanks. I'm doing great now. The best way you can make it up to me is by not making it up to me." The color drained from her face. I pushed her hands away. "If you really feel sorry, then please stay out of my life. Dealing with you is kind of a hassle." I gave her an apologetic but genuinely annoyed look. Finally, I added politely, "I wish you all the best." With that, I turned and left before she had a chance to say anything else. I thought I had been clear enough for her to get the message, but I had underestimated her. She waited outside my office building until I got off work. I worked overtime until 8:30 p.m., and she waited until 8:30 p.m. "Mark, have you eaten? Let me treat you. Can we please just sit down and talk?" "I have nothing to talk to you about." I didn't even look at her as I walked away. She followed me relentlessly, seeming to beg humbly, but in reality doing exactly what she wanted. Just as I was about to lose my patience and tell her to get lost, a car screeched to a halt behind us. Clara screamed. I jumped and looked back. Olivia's car was stopped right behind us, and Clara was on the ground, having fallen in shock. The driver's door opened, and a woman with a cool, composed demeanor stepped out. Her eyes were fixed on my face, her presence strangely intimidating. Olivia Lynn, my direct supervisor, the director of the IT department, and my girlfriend. Well, technically, my ex-girlfriend as of yesterday. Clara, having recovered, scrambled up from the ground in a rage and swung her hand to slap Olivia. "Are you blind, you bitch?" Olivia dodged the slap expertly, grabbing Clara's arm, twisting it behind her back, and pressing her face against the hood of the G-Wagon. Olivia didn't let go until the building security guards rushed over. Clara, her face pale, shot me a furious look and tried to lunge at Olivia again, but the guards held her back. "Get in!" Olivia glanced at me, then got into the driver's seat. I got into the passenger seat. It wasn't until Clara's figure had disappeared from the rearview mirror that Olivia's cold voice broke the silence. "Enjoy the show?" I stared straight ahead and cleared my throat. "You're prettier." She let out a cold snort and went back to being icy. She drove me to my apartment complex and stopped. "Thanks, boss," I said. I reached for the door handle to get out, but she had locked the doors. Her cold, heavy voice followed. "Is there nothing you want to say to me? Have you eaten?" Seeing the murderous look in her eyes, I immediately backed down. I'm sorry, you just caught me off guard. Then silence. Endless silence. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. That woman's name is Clara. She's my ex-girlfriend. She knew the rest of the story. When I first joined the company, she had been there a year before me and was my team lead. I worked like a madman back then, terrified of not making it past my probationary period, especially that first month. I lived way out in the suburbs with a daily commute of over 4 hours. For breakfast, I ate cheap bread I bought in bulk online. For lunch, I had leftovers and some greens I brought from home. I didn't have dinner until I got home around 9 or 10 at night, eating little, sleeping little, and working a ton. As she would later describe it, I looked like a zombie who'd had all its life force sucked out. But that was 2 years later. After we got together, she asked me why I had come to New York in the first place, and that's when I told her. I left out the family drama and the stuff with my grandpa's friend, just saying that I had broken up with someone and didn't want to stay in Boston anymore. That's right. I had never told Olivia about my family. She only knew that I didn't have a good relationship with them, so she was always considerate enough not to ask. But not asking didn't mean she didn't want to marry me. Yesterday she had brought up taking me home to meet her parents again, and I had refused again. The more she pushed for marriage, the more anxious I got. And finally I blurted out, "If your parents are really pressuring you, maybe you should try going on some dates. What if you meet someone you click with? I think that would be fine." "Yeah, and then I got dumped." "So, are you getting back together with her?" She looked at me, her eyes cold as ice. "No, I stopped liking her a long time ago." She seemed to relax a little. "Then is it because you don't like me anymore?" I shook my head. She relaxed a bit more, her tone softening. "Then why won't you marry me?" "Because marriage involves 2 families, and I would have to reopen old wounds." I admit I was being paranoid, but the feeling of having someone know your vulnerabilities and then use them to control you, even crush you, I never wanted to experience that again. When we first got together, I never thought we would get to this point, and I certainly never thought she would want to marry me. I thought we wouldn't last very long. Suddenly, she took my hand. Olivia's eyes had at some point returned to their usual gentle gaze when she looked at me, but now there was sadness in them. "I can feel it. You're always ready to leave. To be honest, I've never felt secure with you." In the end, she didn't ask about my family. She didn't ask about anything at all. She drove me to get something to eat, and then took me home. When I got out of the car, she wasn't as clingy as usual, which felt weird. I put on a playful smile and leaned in. "So, boss, are we back together now?" She huffed a humorless smile on her face. "I didn't want to be—" My expression turned tragic. "You really want to break up with me?" She unlocked the doors, her face impassive. "We're already back together. Go home and get some sleep." I pouted and leaned in to kiss her, but she pushed me away with one hand. "Go on, get home." I tried again, undeterred. "Just one kiss, just one." She sat ramrod straight, staring ahead, not resisting but not participating either. After I kissed her, she glanced at me coolly. "You'll take what you can get, but you won't get married." I felt a pang of guilt and grabbed my bag. "I'm going, boss. See you in the morning." After watching until her car was completely out of sight, I finally breathed a sigh of relief and turned to go into my building. I didn't expect Clara to be waiting for me, ready to drop a bomb. Her face was dark and sullen. "Who is she? Huh?" That line sounded familiar, but what business was it of hers? I frowned in disgust. "Does it have anything to do with you?" She grabbed my wrist. "Mark, I'm so sorry about what happened." I cut her off. "Are you a broken record? If you're really sorry, then show some respect for the person you hurt and stay the hell out of my life, okay?" Her expression turned ugly again. "I can't. I really love you. I've been looking for you for 4 years." I held up a hand to silence her. With my last shred of patience, I said, "I heard everything you and Sarah and the others said at the bar that night. From that moment on, we were done for good." Clara, I didn't make a scene back then because I thought, at the very least, you had been good to me before. But if you keep harassing me, I have absolutely no problem turning nasty now. She looked at me in shock, asking in disbelief, "What bar?" "The night before your dream guy's birthday. It was pouring rain. I came to bring you an umbrella." The hand gripping my wrist began to tremble, and all the color drained from her face. She stared at me, mumbling, "Is that what happened?" "That's not all. Did you know the walls in your apartment are paper thin? I heard Sarah and your friends calling me a freeloader, and you didn't say a single word to defend me. You were too busy thinking about getting your beauty sleep for your precious man." "I didn't like him, Mark. With Daniel, I was just—" "So what? You two didn't get together after I left?" I was just asking based on how into him she was back then, but she fell silent again. I shook my head, the disgust in my eyes deepening. "It's just that I left so decisively that you couldn't stand it. That, and you never found another guy as completely and utterly stupid as me. I can tell you right now, my history with you is just as traumatic as the memory of that old predator who went after me." I pulled my hand away and raised an eyebrow. "See? I was ready to let it go, but you forced me to get ugly." "Clara, you're really pathetic." Her eyes welled up and she looked at me, defeated and broken, like the perfect, innocent victim. I rolled my eyes, grabbed my bag, and strode into the building. Clara disappeared from my life for about half a month. When she reappeared, she told me she had requested a transfer to New York. I was speechless. Her logic was that I still loved her. She had just hurt me so badly with her words that now my coldness was something she deserved. Then she followed me into my office building, recounting all the sweet things we used to do when we first started dating. The security gate at the entrance finally stopped her, but she was still going. "Mark, I won't let you go this time." After getting to my desk, I dropped my bag and went straight to Olivia's office before I even had a chance to make coffee. She glanced up at me, then went back to staring at her computer. She'd been giving me the cold shoulder lately. It all came down to me not being honest enough with her. "There's something I need to tell you." Her hand paused on the mouse. She looked up at me with a raised eyebrow, and for some reason I got the feeling she thought I was about to confess everything, and was a little excited. "Go on." "My ex transferred to New York. She might be bothering me a lot for a while." As her face visibly darkened, I stared at the floor. "So, maybe you could stay with me for a few days. It could also be a good way to patch things up." My intention was to show Clara we were a happy couple, so she'd finally give up, and to smooth things over with Olivia at the same time. I didn't expect Clara to once again come in and drop a bomb, revealing all my secrets to Olivia. Clara started showing up to stalk me more reliably than I clocked in for work. She rented an apartment in my building. Her office was in the building next to mine. On nights she didn't work late, she'd wait for me downstairs. She brought me gifts, mementos, and homemade pastries. I treated her like she was invisible unless she got too annoying. Then I'd yell at her. But Clara had been treated like a princess her whole life, and her anger had been building. Seeing Olivia and me coming and going together every day, looking like a happy couple, finally made her snap. One evening, as I was taking out the trash, she grabbed my wrist and had a meltdown. "Mark? All women are the same. She's nice to you now because it's still new and exciting. Once she has you, she'll start to resent you too. I'm different. I've already tasted what it's like to lose you, and it was devastating. I'll never hurt you again." She seemed to have been drinking. She was hysterical and started saying whatever came to mind. "Do you even know about her family? She's an only child from New York. Her parents are business owners. They'll never approve of someone like you. Don't you realize how big the gap is between your families? Not to mention your messed up family. What decent family would let their amazing daughter, who they've raised their whole lives, marry a man who was touched by some 60 or 70-year-old predator? Have you told her? She says she doesn't care, but do you really believe that? Aren't you afraid of making the same mistake again? What we had was so much deeper than what you have with her. I looked for you for 4 years, Mark. 4 whole years. Isn't that enough to show you how sorry I am? I really won't let you down again. Please come back with me, okay? Mark, I'm begging you." She was sobbing uncontrollably. I just stood there, stunned. I didn't even think to slap her. I just let her hold my wrist, crying and begging, because I saw Olivia. She was standing there, about 15 feet away, watching me with a calm expression. Then she walked towards me, step by step, kicked the still raving Clara into the flower bed, took my hand, and led me upstairs. The whole time, I was like a slow-witted idiot, my mind completely blank. It wasn't until the door was closed and she had pushed me down onto the couch and knelt in front of me that I snapped out of it. "Don't listen to that bullshit she was saying. The past is just something that happened. You just went through some bad things, but it wasn't your fault." My throat was dry. The words, "let's break up," died before they could leave my mouth. She went to get the first aid kit. As she was putting ointment on my wrist, I realized Clara had squeezed it so hard it was bruised. I watched her, her brow furrowed in concentration as she treated my wrist, and my nose started to sting. "Olivia," I said, sniffing, "I'm sorry about what I was just thinking." She didn't look up. "You were about to break up with me." It was a statement, not a question. I couldn't help but laugh. She looked up at me. I immediately went back to looking depressed. It wasn't an act. I really felt bleak. After staring into space for a while, I slowly began to speak. "My parents divorced when I was very young." I told her everything. It wasn't much different from what Clara had blurted out, just more detailed. When I finished, Olivia's reaction was to hold me all night. The next day, she acted like nothing had happened, as if my dark, unspeakable secrets were as trivial as forgetting your homework. I felt uncertain, but I prepared for the worst, being abandoned again. I'd been good at that since I was a kid, so it wasn't a big deal. It wouldn't kill me. It would just hurt for a while. But I didn't expect that Olivia would go home and tell her parents about my general family situation. She kept the most private part to herself, but made it clear to them that I was the one she wanted. Her parents were very open-minded and had always raised her with respect and understanding. So when I, with a what-the-hell attitude, agreed to go meet them, I never imagined it would go so smoothly. Halfway through dinner, I knew Olivia must have talked to them beforehand. I gathered my courage and stopped running from my past. I laid my family situation out on the table and promised that I would be good to Olivia. On the way home, she took me to pick out a pair of rings. When we got back to our building, we found Clara waiting downstairs again. After her drunken outburst, she had been incredibly regretful and had been apologizing non-stop. Before, just seeing her annoyed me. But today, Olivia and I were both in a good mood. "We're engaged." I held up my hand, intertwined with Olivia's, to show off our rings. Olivia added dryly, "Actually, we should thank you." Yeah, if it wasn't for her, the growing distance between Olivia and me might have eventually broken us up. Whatever the future holds, I'll enjoy the present. Future problems can be handled by future Mark. As for Clara, I heard she got a new burst of motivation and started a business in New York. But things didn't go her way, and she ended up losing so much money that she had to sell several of her properties in Boston. In the end, she went crawling back to her parents.